There's let's take a little sidestep here.
Green.
Here was Dr. Abdul El-Sayed on Breaking Points. Abdul El-Sayed defended engaging with the Hun on Breaking Points, saying, "We're talking about somebody whose job it is to talk to groups of people that you'd think people running for public office would want to be talking to," adding, "This is kind of crazy given Piker was invited to stream live from the DNC in 2024. He pushed back on criticism from Mallory McMorrow, arguing Democrats must meet disengaged voters where they are and focus on core issues like cost of living and healthcare." Oh my God, I fucking hate Gemini. What is this shit? So, as you guys are probably aware of, your boy is in the crosshairs by some of the most no motion having people on the planet. Centrist Democrats, Israel First Democrats, and the like. Okay. It's, ADL, APAC, all of these groups that have completely lost the public battle are trying to enforce their institutional muscle in the last area where they think they have a little bit of power. And that is, of course, wait, you can, oh, I just unpinned Gemini. Thank you, chatter. That was very helpful. Holy shit, helpful chatters. Okay. So for organizations like Third Way, whose entire purpose on this planet is to enforce the wishes of billionaires upon the Democratic Party, there is no real popular base for these guys, right? And the same goes for ADL. The same goes for APAC, especially within the Democratic Party. That's why APAC, as a lobby for a foreign country, has to engage in these somewhat sophisticated, insidious ways of destabilizing American democracy. You know, funding groups, that are not even named APAC, and running attack ads that don't ever mention Israel, running promotional ads that never mention Israel, making sure that their candidates that they're funding through these shell groups are not even aren't even really talking about Israel at all, as long as they are a reliable vote on Israel first politics when they get into Congress. So they don't really have any real popular support, but they do still have access to politicians. And they're using that access to politicians and pestering them. And they have some media organs that will run these attack ads, especially if any of these politicians respond to the pressure and actually release statements. So then it becomes newsworthy, right? That's when the New York Times will write an article about it. The New York Times is not going to write an article because the ADL is saying I'm an anti-Semite, but the New York Times will write an article if, like, the ADL and APAC get a politician to say that I'm an anti-Semite. That's when it becomes, like, actually newsworthy, right? And they've seen a little bit of success in the process, but ultimately, this is not going to change public opinion at all. They've lost the public opinion. This is just them trying to enforce their institutional muscle with the only outlets that they possibly have. And yes, I know the New York Times wrote one. I interviewed for it earlier this morning. They asked me for quotes. They, of course, predictably did not put most of my quotes in there. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Mallory McMorrow yesterday came out with a statement alongside Elisa Slotkin and alongside Haley Stevens. This is, again, about the Michigan Senate race, the Democratic primary that's taking place in the Michigan Senate race, right? Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow, that's running for Senate against Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, came out with a statement, did a sit-down interview with Jewish Insider, which is a right-wing propaganda outlet for the Israeli government. That's what they do. It's all they cover, right? And Mallory McMorrow sat down with them and basically said that I am the equivalent of Nick Fuentes, right? like implying that I'm like a neo-Nazi for having the popular position on Israel, right? Like, because at this point, it's no longer just the moral position on Israel, which it always was, but now it's also the popular position. And it's actually unimaginably popular in the Democratic Party's base. So for her to place herself against Abdul El-Sayed and someone like myself is not to actually win votes. She's not signaling to win over voters, right? She's doing that to signal to AIPAC that as Haley Stevens's popularity is waning and she's like deeply unlikable, that Mallory McMorrow will take on that mantle. Like she will be the more viable pro-Israel slant for AIPAC. That's what she's trying to do. Matt Stoller has some words on this. He says, pretty obvious McMorrow stands with big money in Israel. The criticism of Hassan the Hun is just straight up racism. It's also a problem if you want Dems to communicate to podcasters. You got to be willing to talk to everyone instead of being in a tiny club. Jews need to reject the racism underpinning the smears of Hassan the Hun. Piker will be a key figure in pushing back on anti-Semitism because he doesn't conflate Israel and Judaism. It doesn't really matter, though. A lot of these groups will still continue saying, no, you don't understand. This is the most viable way that we can continue waging this information war. This is the most viable way that we can continue having the conversation on our terms by not necessarily tackling the issue at hand, not talking about Israel at all, but instead trying to cynically smear all of Israel's critics as vicious anti-Semites. You only do that when you don't have any other option. And to be fair to these people, it's very difficult to defend Israel, especially now, especially after 2.5 years of genocide. It's become unbelievably difficult to defend the state of Israel when the American consciousness on this issue has shifted in the opposite direction, right? So they're in a desperate attempt. They are trying to diminish, because they think like, I need these politicians for legitimacy, because they're operating in the old guard mentality, right? From their perspective, they're like, oh, dude, he's going to Vanity Fair parties. He's going on the New York Times. He's giving he's being given favorable coverage. We have to stop that. What they don't realize is, I don't need the favorable coverage, right? It's a mutually beneficial relationship. And for politicians that appear alongside me, it's not necessarily beneficial for me at all. I just get a lot of fucking endless amounts of hatred. It's actually beneficial for them. That's why I do it, regardless of the additional unjustifiable smears that I receive, right? So if there are politicians out there who actually get worried and are fearful of this kind of backlash and shy away from collaborating with someone like myself, well then, sucks to suck. As long as you still continue putting out good policies, I will most likely defend you. I don't give a shit about, politicians being my friend. I care about politicians doing the bidding of the masses. Okay? I have a very pragmatic approach to this kind of stuff. So, the ADL. No, thank you. Sorry, housekeeping. Jonathan Greenblatt also came out with a statement after the ADL Michigan came out with a statement. Except Zoran, though. No, it's same goes for Zoran, too. Put the policies in the bag, little bro. Remember, this is what I've said over and over again, right? Put the policies in the bag. That's all I care about. I've been very open about this. I have no, I have no interest in, I have plenty of friends, okay? Plenty of wonderful friends and family, okay? I have no interest in making new ones, especially in the realm of politics, okay? Having said that, as long as politicians are doing right by their constituents, that's great. I'm happy. I'm excited. So, Jonathan Greenblatt puts this smear out there because it's the Always Defaming League, and he's the head of the Always Defaming League. Big Baba Ganoush, thank you for the 10 gifted. Hassan Piker has a long track record of commending and excusing terrorism. He routinely uses his platform to spread anti-Jewish tropes, amplify propaganda from designated terrorist groups, and promote toxic anti-Zionism. Despite a backdrop of intensifying anti-Semitism, Piker does all of this, not only unapologetically, but proudly. Dr. Abdul El-Sayed's decision to host campaign rallies with Piker is not just alarming, it's absolutely shocking. It reflects a broader trend, the dangerous normalization of anti-Semitism in our politics. What is ironic about this is that there is a very significant amount of unchecked Islamophobia. And Jonathan Greenblatt tying the largest Muslim anti-Zionist content creator, political commentator, to terrorism, terror jacketing me, and claiming falsely that I'm anti-Semitic is actually accelerating that Islamophobia. He's leaning into the Islamophobia. Okay? It's one of those issues that is virtually impossible. What is this? Agreed, talk to Tyler. Why are people saying, why don't you talk to Tyler? I don't know what you're talking about. You're not a Muslim at all, though? It's weird. Buddy, I don't know how to explain this to you, but this has nothing to do. This has absolutely nothing to do with like how committed I am to Islam, okay? And everything to do with what my name is and what my background is. Anyway, that this is happening in Michigan, where Temple Israel was targeted in a violent anti-Semitic attack less than 2 weeks ago, makes it even more egregious. If the attacker had succeeded, it could have been the worst mass killing of children in history. And then he thanks and he gives a nod to Haley Stevens, Senator Slotkin, and Mallory McMurrow, the three Michigan politicians that actually released statements. Very clearly got a call from like either, pro-Israel donors or a pro-Israel lobbying arm, and released like very similar statements to one another. And the one from Slotkin was the funniest because she like openly admits she has no idea who the fuck I am and is just like very clearly going through the motions. She's like, I was told to say this, so I'm saying it. I don't know Hassan at all, but seems to me like he's really anti-Semitic. Right? But Abdul El-Sayed responded to this directly, which is good because I don't mind getting yelled at. I get yelled at professionally, right? McMurrow, Stevens, and Elisa Slotkin all said things. Elisa Slotkin's was the funniest one, okay? I don't mind getting yelled at. This is my job. My job is to get yelled at professionally. I am unfortunately, I am the sin eater for all things left, okay? And I will forever remain the sin eater for all things left, right? It is what it is. The positive side of this is that one of the major issues with the Senate race in Michigan is that there's not a lot of media coverage until these past couple of days, okay? Now there's a lot of media coverage and therefore a lot of attention on Abdul El-Sayed. So the way he carries himself and the way he conducts himself going forward from this point on, it's going to be very important. Okay? This guy just called himself Left Jesus? No, I did not. I'm just responding to the things that are unfolding and reflecting on them by saying I am the sin eater for the left. It's just the way it is. Dr. Abdul El-Sayed responds to ADL, to Jonathan Greenblatt, says, you deliberately conflate Netanyahu and Israel's government for the Jewish people, Mr. Greenblatt. They are not the same. I love and revere the Jewish people because I love all people. And I criticize Israel's genocide because I love all people. I pray someday you understand. Now, of course, Jonathan Greenblatt knows what's up. He's just a monster, a very cynical person, someone who's pro-genocide, someone who is absolutely an ethno-religious supremacist, right, of the highest order. Yeah, Eli Valley also brought this up, and I think it's interesting. If Greenblatt spoke like this, rather than cozying up the Nazis, celebrating genocide, and lying about anti-Semitism, the ADL wouldn't be a toxic cesspool of bigotry and hatred. Eli Valley says, Piker has done far more to combat actual anti-Semitism than has this worm, who earns millions lying about anti-Semitism and contributing to the largest explosion of Jew hatred in generations. Any Dem who heeds ADL smears should be considered a danger to Jewish existence in the U.S. Yes, Jonathan Greenblatt, by the way, famously has even said that Jews should stop breeding with non-Jews. If you want to fully understand, like he is, I mean, a lot of guys, Zionism is a fascist ideology. It's an ethno-supremacist, religious supremacist ideology that is exterminationist, as I say all the time. That's why I say Zionism is racism, Zionism is Nazism, right? And in polite company, Jonathan Greenblatt, in a more sympathetic audience, will reveal some of the things that he wouldn't say openly to the New York Times, for example, right? That's the situation. Like Jonathan Greenblatt literally is operating like a, he has the same mindset of like a Klansman, pretty much. And not just against Palestinians at all. It's just like there is Jewish supremacist attitudes here. When you say stuff like, Jews need to marry and only reproduce with other Jews. That's what this is. Jonathan Greenblatt has also been posted with straight up a terrorist. JDL guys, Kahanists, an American terrorist group, by the way. Like this was JDL, Jewish Defense League, has done domestic terror on U.S. soil and has killed people. It is a terrorist organization, or was a terrorist organization. It was on the terrorism list until Joe Biden took them off the terrorism list. Just so you understand the dynamic here at play. But ultimately, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that it's not necessarily that relevant. And the reason why it's not that big of a deal, nor is it that relevant, is because this attitude is unpopular, is deeply unpopular. What we should be worrying about is not what these guys are saying and the limited amount of press they get around this and the manufactured outrage, right? What we should be paying close attention to is how much money these groups, these pro-Israel groups, these Israel first groups are going to be spending on these elections. Okay?
I don't even know. And the point that you made in the first place is that we're talking about somebody whose job it is to talk to groups of people that you would think people running for public office would want to be talking to. They're the folks I want to be talking to. And a big frustration that we've often had is that too often the people who should be voting for Democrats are not showing up to elections at all. And the question is, where are we missing them? Why are we not able to move our message? Well, I think part of it is that too many politicians don't have a message that these folks care about because they are on the wrong side of locking these same folks out. And on the other, it's that we're not actually going to the places that these folks are. I mean, we remember the whole 2024 discourse about whether or not the vice president should have gone on Rogan. So my question is, what is wrong with going and talking to a group of people who have been let down by our politics, cast aside by politicians who aren't talking to the issues that they're talking to? And I'll just say this, the logic of this is kind of crazy given the fact that Hasan was invited to stream live from the DNC in 2024. And so I'm only doing what Vice President Harris did in the first place. I think the question then I would ask any of the folks who are so frustrated about this is, why wasn't there so much more outrage when she did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, but also I've appeared alongside Bernie Sanders, AOC, Zohran Mamdani on numerous occasions. Like, it's just not a thing, right? It's not a real thing at all. They're just trying to manufacture outrage and controversy around it right now because they want to, one, smear me to the best of their ability because they're worried that, like, politicians are going to see my stream as like a must visit campaign stop, right? That's what it is. The reality is these guys are terrified that they have lost their grip. They've lost their capabilities of being able to bully politicians, effectively defanging a massive function of the lobbying. Okay? A big part of the function of lobbying is that you can directly make a phone call to a politician and just be like, "The fuck are you doing? You know, shut this up. Stop saying things about Israel." And then they respond, right? If politicians actually place more emphasis on someone like myself, because this community is capable of fundraising, this community is capable of getting reliable door knockers, this community is capable of improving a candidate's chances, even if it's marginal, right? And that this community and myself in particular am capable of creating and generating clicks around a politician. That's a terrifying prospect for a multi-million dollar influence peddling operation, because I'm not a controllable entity. I don't have big donors. I don't correspond to the needs of big donors. I have my own opinions that I'm very unapologetically distributing with regular frequency, right? That's terrifying. That's it. It's like, I don't want to be corny about it, but the reality of the matter is, it is because I am not a part of this system, right? And neither are you. The way that Democrats smear organically popular left-wing voices they don't control exposes how much contempt they have for their base. Exactly. Totally corrupted party. No way the right would do this for their dumb podcasters. They don't want ideologically motivated people to have influence. They want to be about pleasing big donors. Yes. And it goes back to the same argument that we always present, which is Republicans are scared of their base. So they constantly offer concessions to their base, which is how democracy works. Whereas Democrats run away from their base. Democrats have contempt for their base. They don't like their base. And you see it. You see it in the way that they operate. So that's precisely the reason why they just endlessly talked about finding a Joe Rogan to the left, landed on someone like myself, even though I said I don't take on this title at all. Okay? And then now, the very same people, the very same people like Mick Morrow, who said a year ago that we need to go to Joe Rogan, we need to not turn away people that have these platforms that speak to large audiences that don't always agree with us, is doing this thing, an act of desperation. Okay?
Until they kicked him out, I think, the third or fourth day. But that's a different story. There were some quotes here from Mallory McMorrow, who's running against you, about Hassan. To quote this from the Jewish Insider, she says, "It is somebody who says extremely offensive things in order to generate clicks, views, and followers, which is not entirely different from somebody like Nick Fuentes. That is not somebody you should be campaigning with at a moment when there's clearly a lot of pain and trauma across our state. How do you bring everybody together when there are difficult conversations where there aren't easy answers?" I'll leave that question to you, Abdul.
I'm trying to have conversations with everybody. And I agree that there's a lot of pain and trauma across our state. There has been so much pain and trauma across our state. That's why I've always tried to name that pain and trauma from the jump. You go back a couple of years, we have watched as Israel has decimated Gaza in a genocide. And it took 2 years for my opponent to call it what it was, a genocide. So if we want to be in the business of understanding pain and trauma, I think it's important for us to name pain and trauma. And herein lies exactly the double standard. when we talk about the pain and trauma of some groups of people, that gets ignored. It gets ignored by the same politicians who tend to ignore the kinds of people who listen to Hassan Piker Twitch stream every single day. I'm trying to have a conversation with everybody. I was proud last Saturday to spend my Saturday morning in Jewish prayer services. I was invited in, and I was so grateful to get to share space. At the end of the day, I think it is absolutely critical for us to understand that pain begets pain. And the only way that we heal pain is by going and addressing the circumstances that cause it. That's what I'm trying to do. And then all of this seems completely separated from the foundational issues that people are feeling pain on across our state. Everywhere I go, people tell me about the fact that they cannot afford anything as simple as gas. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford their groceries, and they certainly can't afford healthcare. I'm trying to have conversations about how we unlock our current system, take money out of politics through corporate bribery, how we address the fact that we need to put more money back in people.
The system doesn't fear bad ideas, it ignores them. It fears independent voices because those can't be controlled. That's why they don't argue you, they try to invalidate you. Yeah, that's what it is. And there's a lot of dumb fucks out there who want to be like loyal servants of the very same institutions that have failed the public over and over again, right? And that's why they like advance this agenda. But the reality is it's over, right? Like you can't, like, you can disparage me, but you can't win this conversation, right? You can keep repeating over and over again until you behave in this like you can keep repeating to yourself and anyone who will listen to you that I am just like Nick Fuentes. I'm just like Nick Fuentes over and over and over again. But that doesn't actually undermine what I'm trying to do. If anything, that probably legitimizes Nick Fuentes. As a matter of fact, not even probably, that definitely legitimizes Nick Fuentes because you're diluting the severity of the term anti-Semitism by associating it with people who are just anti-Zionist and not anti-Semitic at all and actively fight back against anti-Semitism. I don't know. It's very, very strange. It's very strange behavior. It's like totally antithetical to the goals of the stated goals, the stated purpose of any Jewish advocacy group that wants to combat anti-Semitism. Especially because if you were to ask the average person on the street right now, do you feel like people just kind of throw the term anti-Semitism around anytime someone is critical of Israel? It would be a resounding yes. Like the overwhelming majority of the public is already aware of this because that's all they've heard. On the one hand, they've seen children in trash bags being carried by their parents. And on the other hand, in the Western world, all they've seen and all they've heard is when people say, that's fucked up, we need to stop this right now, people come in and go, you're anti-Semitic, you need to be fired. You're anti-Semitic, you need to be canceled. You're anti-Semitic, we must do harm to you, right? So not only do people already have a severe distaste for cancel culture in particular, they also have a severe resentment towards the state of Israel.
People's pockets by standing with unions and small businesses, and finally guaranteeing every single person healthcare through Medicare for all. Those are the conversations I'm having with people, whether they are in town halls in places like Ishpeming, on Twitch with people like Hassan, or in churches in places like Detroit. And those are the conversations I think we need to be focused on.
Yeah. It's a good line. It's good.
You know, I don't even know. And the
It's it's just not a successful line of attack. Like all you'll do is get a couple like scared low-level politicians to respond, or politicians that have different ambitions. Bizarre trend among moderate Democrats to continue comparing one of the country's most popular left-wing media figures to a literal neo-Nazi. If anything, the comparison only further normalizes Fuentes. Yeah. Let's smear my increasingly polarizing Muslim opponent for associated with the most famous left-wing streamer over an issue voters agree with during an historically unpopular war in the Middle East 2 whole months before the primary. Yeah, it's very, very strange behavior. But like I said, I don't think this is bad. I don't think this is a bad thing for Abdul. It's at most annoying for me, right? This seems normal. Jewish Insider has published at least 7 stories about Hassan Piker in the last 3 or so days. Yeah. Ted Deutsch compares Hassan Piker to Nick Fuentes, says Dem should shun him. McMorrow slams El-Sayed for campaigning with Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker becomes flashpoint in Democratic infighting. Elisa Slotkin and Haley Stevens criticize El-Sayed over rallies with Hassan Piker. Representative Brad Schneider, new Dems chair, urges Democrats to disavow Hassan Piker. Dems divide on Hassan Piker ties. Third Way calls out Abdul El-Sayed's embrace of Hassan Piker. I'm used to it. I'm used to it because my positions were the same immediately after October 7 as they are now. And back then, the majority was not on my side. So if I could withstand the last 2.5 years of unlimited attacks like this, when the majority opinion was not on my side at all, and if I could just like white knuckle through that, then this is nothing. I think the real reason why they're doing it is because although this failed for Zohran Mamdani, I think they're trying to do it to Abdul El-Sayed before it gets out of hand. You know, McMorrow could have slammed Hassan and Sayed, and fine, it's politics. The game is the game. But throwing Nick Fuentes in there is just so gross. Like, hey, I want to make it clear you all are actually the same as neo-Nazis. Yeah. Another banger tweet about you. I actually think accusing 2 Muslim American men of being just like a Nazi because they support an end to the Palestinian genocide is actually a really smart thing to do when you're running for Senate in a state with the 6th largest Muslim population in the country. Yeah. It's actually really strange, too, because, like, I don't think this moves the needle for Jewish Americans at all. Because, like, as I've said over and over again, even Jewish Americans who do care about Israel or will respond to polls saying that Israel is important to them do not rank Israel as their top priority because they're American Jews. They're American first, okay? Why the fuck would they care about that? And this was also seen in the polling for Zohran Mamdani. Right? What, you think like American Jews that care about Israel also don't want fast and free buses? They do. They do. They want it. And that's the consideration here. That's the calculation. Problem is, a lot of the lobbying arms are Israel first. Like, they don't care about anything else. That's their whole function. So when they're the only people that these politicians listen to, they also sound insane. And it's incredibly, incredibly unappealing to the average person. They hear this and they go, why the fuck? What? What the fuck are you saying? Why am I supposed to care about this? It's insane how someone can see someone calling for more human rights for people and end the genocide, a more humane and equal society, and think that that person must be as bad as a neo-Nazi. Yeah. This is Loki turning the referendum on Gaza onto the referendum on Hassan, bro. They hate you for your name and stole it. Proper noun for Chad behavior regarding Gaza equals your name here is going to result in statues. Wait, what are you saying, dude? That's crazy. Also, a majority of Jews as of last year say Israel's committing war crimes and all want an arms embargo. And this is before the horrors with Iran and Lebanon this year. Yeah. Yeah. Counterpoint, what if you're a rabid ethno-supremacist and a racist? I was asked again last night why I'm so pro-Israel. 1,000 reasons, I said, and then gave him just this one. For years and years and years, Israel has quite literally been on the front lines fighting against one of modernity's greatest threats, Islamism and Islamic terrorism. Israel's been forced to fight this fight on their own backyard year after year. The modern world, free world, Western world owes Israel a great deal of debt, a great debt of gratitude for fighting this fight. Yeah, this is what it